I'm going to show you what these 5 strategies look like, specifically with Google Translate and Word Reference. As you watch, think about how you can use these strategies in the translation of your passage. First is the retranslate strategy. Let's see what this looks like with my passage using Google Translate. I'll enter my English text and see what I get when that's translated into Spanish. Now I'll copy and paste that back into Google Translate to see what the English result is. And you can select all over here. You can either right-click and copy or use your hotkeys. And we want to go from Spanish, of course, to English. As you can see, it's pretty close to the original, which gives me some confidence. We don't want to experience that message drift that we saw in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air video. This first part is obviously causing problems though. We shall not cease has become not cease. Where did the subject go? So I'll go back one screen to hover over just that part. Yeah, there seems to be a problem here with the phrase we shall not cease. So I'm going to try putting in just that little phrase. No descansaremos. How about we will not cease? Or we will not stop? Or we won't stop? As you can see, we're getting different results, so it seems to me that this will be a good section to keep an eye on. I'll try some other strategies to see which one of these options seems best, or if another translation entirely would be most accurate. Now I'm going to show you what the read entry strategy looks like. It's pretty straightforward. I will use it, as recommended, for those tricky words I annotated back in Module 2. Remember, I had picked out end and place, commenting that I wanted the noun versions of both words, not the verbs. So here's how to get to the dictionary style entry on Google Translate. Just type in an English word or a commonly translated phrase, and a dictionary entry will show up over here with other possible translations over here. The gray bars show how popular each word is on the web, with more English words to clarify each one. Notice that all of these words are clickable, taking you to more information. With the way the end is used in the passage I've chosen as a noun, it looks like el final or el fin are probably the best choices for this word. And of course, I want to only look at the nouns. And sure enough, Google Translate did give me el final when it translated the whole passage earlier. But let's see how this looks on Word Reference. To get to the dictionary style entries on Word Reference, just type in the word that you want to look up and make sure that you've selected the option you want from the drop-down menu. And we had English to Spanish there. Notice that I can view Word Reference's dictionary entry right here, or the Collins Spanish Dictionary by clicking between these tabs. I usually prefer the layout of the Word Reference entry, but it can be good to check both. These blue abbreviations refer to parts of speech and also tell you whether nouns are masculine or feminine over here. Just hover over the abbreviations to see what they mean, or visit the link on the left, abreviaturas. Now remember, I've come here to find the best translation for my noun, end. Here are my top choices looking at the definitions. Probably fin or final. Now, I would want to do this for my other tricky word, the noun place. Remember to use this strategy anytime you have multiple meanings for a word. For an explanation of how to check for concordancia, let's use the example word smart. I know that adjective didn't show up in my passage, but it does a perfect job of illustrating my point, so bear with me. Remember that Spanish adjectives must match the nouns they describe, but if we just look up or translate an adjective, we will likely be given the generic or masculine and singular version only. Watch me do this with smart in Google Translate. Notice that there are no clues about how to change inteligente, astuto, or listo for describing feminine or plural nouns. Of course, that's usually pretty easy in Spanish, but let's say I'm dealing with new words and I need a little help. Well, unfortunately, Google Translate does not list the inflectional forms of adjectives, but word reference does. So let's go back to word reference and enter the word smart. Notice my drop-down menu is English to Spanish, which I kind of glossed over last time. Now, to see each inflection, we just click on the Spanish word. As you can see, inteligente has only a plural version, inteligentes, since words that end in E in Spanish generally don't change in the feminine form. Let's look at listo. It has the following variations: lista, listos, and listas. Let's look at hábil. Since it ends in a consonant, it adds es to become plural. Always check for concordancia when you are working with Spanish. In this segment, I'm going to show you how to use online translators for conjugating verbs. Back in my day, we had to buy our own 501 verbs books and carry them around everywhere, so I do hope you appreciate what I'm about to show you. Remember how Google Translate seemed to have problems with the first part of my passage, "we shall not cease"? Let's see how word reference deals with this. First, we'll pull up word reference and look up the verb cease. We could also type in to cease and we would have pulled up the same results. Nonetheless, always look at parts of speech to make sure you are focusing on the right words. Most of these are verbs. So I look through the definitions hoping for something that fits the passage where it says, "we shall not cease from exploration," meaning we won't stop. According to the principal translations, there are a few options. I'll check out the compound forms too, just to see if I can narrow it down. The second one down seems to appear to be what I need to stop doing something. Remember that cesar was the verb Google Translate used for the whole passage? It's looking okay. And it seems like a cognate for cease, so let's go with that. Now, I want to see the conjugations for the verb cesar. There are two ways I can do this. From where I am, notice I can click cesar and then click conjugator. But you can get to the screen many ways, including from Word Reference's start page. So let's look at that. Look for verb conjugators and choose Spanish. Of course, from this approach, I'll have to type in the verb I want, which is cesar. Bam! T-charts. They don't look like T-charts because they're in columns, but if you look closely, you will see the subject pronouns along the left. So here's the infinitive, cesar, the gerund, or the ing version of the word, ceasing, the participle, ceased, and then all the T-charts. Here's the T-chart for present tense, starting with ceso, or I cease. Here's imperfect tense, I was ceasing, or I used to cease. Here's preterite tense, I ceased. Here's future tense, I will cease. Here's conditional tense, I would cease. And of course, it goes on and on down the page. And if you stick with Spanish long enough, you will be able to use all these verb forms. So looking back at my Google Doc, where I've been working with this passage, I commented on "we shall not cease," right here, saying it's negative and it's in the future tense, conjugated for we. So let's look at that spot on the word reference page. Here's future, here's nosotros. So according to word reference, "we shall not cease" could be "no cesaremos." Hey, that's what Google Translate said, and then it had trouble translating it back into English. Ah well, better safe than sorry. Most importantly, now you know how to use the word reference conjugator site. Let's look at one more really quick. I want to show you something while we're here. Let's type in the notorious verb oír, to hear. I remember hating this verb for so long while I worked on memorizing all the irregularities. Well, here it is conjugated, and according to the key at the bottom, all of these blue letters refer to irregular forms. No wonder I hated this verb. It's a mess. And of course, dialing up this website won't magically store conjugations into your long-term memory, but it is a great resource. Our last strategy is multiple sources. In the table above this video, I mentioned that with this strategy, you can do a number of things to verify or improve a translation. For example, you can check more than one online translator, which is really easy to do from word reference. Remember these two dictionary tabs, and you can also click at the bottom of the screen on Google Translate. Now you've consulted 3 sources without leaving the page. As another application of the multiple sources strategy, you could also search the web for the phrase you're working with to see if anyone actually uses it. And it's always a good idea, when possible, to ask a friend or family member who speaks Spanish to check your work. My favorite other source, though, because it's so easy and detailed, is the word reference forums. At the bottom of the page, under the principal, additional, and compound translations, you will see the forum discussions. People submit questions here and get them answered by real people. Let's look at an example. I thought EpiPen looked interesting. Here you can see the question asked by a woman from Florida, and you can see the answers from Argentina, England, Spain, and Germany. The forums can be really helpful.